Hey guys, Aaron Coop, personal trainer at ContentRequestsFAEC. So in today's video, I want to be talking about a question that I've been hearing a lot lately, which is, should I try to lose weight first, or should I build muscle before losing weight? And in this video, I am going to talk about my views on this, as well as some views of some experts and stuff like that. So differing opinions, both a couple different ways you can look at this. And hopefully it'll give you a little bit more clarity on what you should do as you're pursuing your own health and fitness goals. Alright, so let me start off by saying that I don't believe that the two are mutually exclusive. I think it is actually quite possible to build muscle and lose fat at the same time. And I actually believe that that is what you should actually try to do. And here's for a couple of reasons why. So number one, if you are trying to lose weight and you're saying, I'm going to stay away from strength training and stuff like that, you're missing out on a couple things. So number one, not only is the strength training also going to burn some calories, but unlike cardio, it's actually going to help you maintain, at least, if not build or increase your muscle mass while you're doing it. And then after that, it's also going to make your muscles more metabolically active, or at rest you're going to be increasing your calorie burn at rest as well. So those are a couple reasons right there. Okay, so the third reason is that if you wait to do your strength training until after you're depleted from losing weight, so to lose weight you need to be in a calorie deficit, we all know that. And so you're going to be depleted and weaker. You're also going to be in a less optimal environment for building more muscle. Now, some people will say, okay, when you get leaner, your testosterone actually goes up, your insulin sensitivity increases, all things that are going to be more beneficial for putting on more muscle. But you can also increase those things while you are losing weight by lifting weight. You're going to increase your testosterone more, you're going to increase your human growth hormone, you're also going to increase insulin sensitivity and more muscles than if you were just doing cardio, which predominantly works just the legs. Whereas when you're doing upper body training as well, when you're doing your lifting and stuff like that, it's going to help you with that as well. Another thing to consider, and this kind of ties into the last one, is that when you're in a calorie surplus, it's much easier to add muscle and also to have the strength and energy to push through your workouts to be adding that muscle on. And if you look at, for example, with bodybuilders, when they are dieting down for a show trying to get really lean, they continue trying to lift as heavy as possible and with as high intensity as possible, even as they are cutting back their calories. So in this way, also, and we'll get into this in the next point I'm going to make, because diet is also an important thing. But in this way, they maintain the muscle that they have, and minimize any muscle loss or decreases in strength as they are dieting down in that calorie deficit in order to lose their fat. Alright, so the next point is that when you are dieting down, you want to make sure that your diet is optimal for getting lean and toned or ripped or whatever you want to call it. So you want to make sure that you're getting at least 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. Now, a lot of experts will say, well, you don't need that much protein and stuff, and that too much protein is too much. And actually, the research shows that about 0.6 to 0.7 grams per kilogram of body weight is sufficient for building muscle mass. Now, the thing that you leave out, though, is that is when you are also getting plenty of carbohydrates and fat and sufficient calories overall. So when your insulin is higher, insulin is a very anabolic hormone. It's going to help you maintain your muscle on a lot less calories or a lot less protein. However, when you are getting depleted and you're in a calorie deficit, in order to prevent your body from eating away at its own muscle stores, you need to keep your protein intake higher to create what is called a positive nitrogen balance. The other thing that I'd like to note is that when you don't need to say, okay, say if you're a woman and you're 150 pounds, you're like, I need to eat 150 grams of protein. No, you don't need to eat 150 grams of protein per day. Actually, if you have, over 20% body fat, and you have plenty of fat in your body, you're probably not going to feel hungry enough to eat that amount. Now, as you start getting a lot leaner and you're down to that single-digit body fat percentage and your body's, getting really depleted, you'd be surprised at how much protein you can pack away because your body does not have any fat stores or extra energy to run off of anymore. So what you want to do instead is you want to divide your protein intake into between 4 to 6 meals per day, depending on how many calories you need. If you're a really big person like a bodybuilder, you might be needing, like if you're 250 plus pounds, you might need 7 or 8 meals a day. But for the average person, that's not an issue. So we're going to stick to, if you're small enough, you might only need 3 meals a day. But you take that protein, 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body weight, and you spread that over 4 to 6 meals. So for example, if you're a 200-pound man and you say, okay, I need 200 pounds of protein per pound of my body weight, and you spread that out over 5 meals per day, that would mean that you're getting about 40 grams of protein per meal. So that means that every time that you eat, you want to make sure that you're eating 40 grams of protein in that meal. I would not recommend going over 50 grams of protein per meal, simply because it negates any of the anabolic effects and the nitrogen-inducing effects of the protein, as your body will just convert the excess protein into glucagon, which will be used for energy rather than muscle building and muscle sustaining purposes. Okay, so now that you've determined how much you should be getting per meal, you also want to think about, okay, how much carbohydrates and protein do I need, or how should I proportion that? Well, a really easy way to do this, and that I've found from my experience, is that usually your calorie count and your macro count fall into place when you do this without even counting them. If you just begin each meal with your protein, and your healthy fat portion. So if you're getting 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body mass, aim for 0.5 gram of fat per pound of lean body mass, and then also have 1 to 2 servings of vegetables or non-starchy carbohydrates at each meal. So begin with the protein, then have the protein and the fat mixed together. So for example, you could have scrambled eggs or something like that, or you could have your steak and it has like the fat in there. Now, provided that the cut of steak is lean enough so that you're not overdoing your fat content. Or you could have something like, pulled chicken with some avocado and eat that, and then have your vegetables. Or you could have, a fish, which is, pretty lean, doesn't have much fat of its own unless it's salmon, and then have a side salad with some olive oil or something like that. And you eat those first, and then if you're still hungry, add your carbohydrate portion on top of that. So how you figure out your carbohydrate portion would be, you figure out, okay, so if I'm dieting down or in maintenance mode, multiply your body weight by 10 calories per pound of lean body mass. So about 10 to 15, usually on the 10 scale there. So if you're a 200-pound man, your resting requirements would be roughly, 2,000 calories. Now, obviously, if you're physically active at your job and you're burning extra calories there, that's some other considerations you'll have to bring into that as well. But I don't worry about that too much, because as long as you eat in the order that I'm telling you, most of the calories and stuff seem to fall in place anyway. So how you figure out the calories is that you then take your protein and you multiply that by 4 calories per gram, and then it will get your total calories from protein. And then your fat you multiply by 9 calories per gram. That will give you your total calories for your fat. And then with your And then you add those two together and subtract it from the total calories that you're supposed to be taking in for that day. So anything else is going to come from your carbohydrates, and aim to get about half of your carbohydrate intake from the non-starchy type, like vegetables. Those really don't have too much calories, so you don't have to worry about too much. So after you figure that out, then you're going to split that up again over however many meals you're doing per day, 4 to 6 or more if you're a bigger person. And so after you eat your protein and your fat and your non-starchy vegetable, then you can have the starchy vegetable up to the level that you've allotted for that meal. Now, if you are still hungry after that, have a little extra protein on top of it. Okay, one last point before I close this video. This video is getting a little excessively long, and I will probably go into more detail in this in a future video. But in the beginning, you may not actually need to be eating a whole lot of carbohydrates until your insulin sensitivity increases. In fact, for a person who is very much overweight, their insulin sensitivity may be very low, which can cause them to have difficulty losing weight even though they're in a calorie deficit. So for them, they might be able to just eat their protein, fat, and vegetable portions of their meals for several meals a day. Actually, for me, when I went from doing a vegetarian sort of diet, which was more a starchitarian, I was eating a lot of peanut butter sandwiches and beans and rice, and then I switched over to a more balanced approach and stuff like that. I actually could go about a week before I need to add any starchy carbohydrates. And then as I got leaner, and it took a couple of years and stuff like that, but as I began to get leaner and stuff, then I started to need to add more starchy carbs into my meals so that I could still get through my workouts and function okay. But in the beginning, you may not actually need that. So again, go by how your body is feeling. Don't feel that you have to eat the amount of calories that you're allotted per day. Eat when you're hungry, and make sure that you eat in that order. So your protein, your fat, your vegetable, and then if you're still hungry, eat your starchy carbohydrate. All right, so the last point before I end this video is also make sure that you're drinking plenty of water. In between meals, as you should be able to go, 4 or 5 hours between meals. Make sure you're drinking plenty of water. Before you eat your meal, have a glass of water, and this is not to curb your appetite or things like that. It's actually just to make sure that you're keeping your digestive tract lubricated and all your systems of your body working optimally by keeping them hydrated. Remember that our body is at least 70% water, so it makes sense that you'd want to be taking in plenty of water, especially if you're decreasing your carbohydrate intake, which means that you will be retaining less water in your body and you'll need to be taking in more through your diet. All right, guys, that concludes this video. I want to thank you for watching it through to the end. Hopefully you have some good ammunition to help you in your fitness journey and to help clear up some of that confusion about whether you should try to lose fat first or build muscle first. And as you've seen from the video, my take on it is that you should try to do both at the same time. You can, in a future video, I will be doing a video on carbohydrate cycling, which is also a great method for either building or maintaining your muscle even as you are getting leaner, simply by manipulating your macronutrient ratios. All right, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit that like button. If you would like to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button down there in the lower left-hand or your right-hand corner of the screen. And we'll see you all next time for more health and fitness related information. Thanks guys for watching. Talk to you later.